One of life's most underappreciated talents is to know when it's time to move on to life's next chapter. So I stand before you today, Mr. President, and my colleagues to say this will be my last term as Republican leader of the Senate.
The announcement today, stepping down his role as the Senate Minority Leader, that's going to happen in November. Today, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell making the stunning announcement he'll no longer be leading the party starting in November. McConnell, who just turned 82 last week, is the longest-serving Senate leader in U.S. history.
He maintained his power throughout decades of change in the Republican Party, but McConnell made it clear he's not stepping away from the Senate. He says he will still be serving Kentucky until 2027. WHAS11's Connor Steffen's been talking with those who served with him. Connor, how are they reacting to the news today?
Well, Doug and Shay, many of them say they actually saw the writing on the wall with this one. Still, they underscore the immense impact McConnell has had on this country and his near 2 decades at the top of Senate leadership.
So as I've been thinking about when I would deliver some news to the Senate.
As the news heard around the nation, shaking up Washington, reverberating to right here in Louisville.
Every 6 years or so, he comes up for renewal. It's report card time.
After 40 years in the U.S. Senate, with many of those years in the leadership role, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell will step down from his leadership role in November.
Mitch and I have always gotten along. We understand we're in a highly polarized, highly competitive arena.
As a longtime colleague and one-time fellow Republican, former Congressman Democrat John Yarmouth was not surprised to hear the news.
With a coming new Congress, it was the right time, a logical time for him to make that move.
He knows how to read his Republican colleagues, and clearly this means they are ready to make a change.
Former Democratic Congressman Mike Ward underscores McConnell's strategic and tactical skills as a GOP leader. That's led him to becoming the longest-serving Senate leader in history.
That's what he's always done. That's what he loves doing. His entire political career is on political tactics.
Gratitude poured into the Senate chamber as McConnell wrapped up his announcement. In a statement, the Jefferson County GOP described the announcement as shocking and said it has, quote, tremendous gratitude for all he has accomplished, for our nation, for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and for our local Republican Party.
I always imagined a moment when I had total clarity and peace about the sunset of my work.
Yarmouth says his decision points to a major shift in policies and values of his Republican Party.
I think you're likely to see even more partisan party in the Senate.
He saw the handwriting on the wall clearly, and with his dealing with his caucus, which is now completely dominated by Donald Trump.
McConnell says he plans to serve out the rest of his term in the Senate, which ends in January of 2027.
I'm no longer the young man sitting in the back, hoping colleagues would remember my name. It's time for the next generation of leadership.
After first being elected to the U.S. Senate in 1984, McConnell finally became party leader in 2006 and has won 9 straight elections. Shay.
All right, Connor, thanks for the update. Well, today, President Joe Biden reacted to news of McConnell stepping away as party leader, saying, I've trusted him. We've had a great relationship. We fight like hell, but he has never, never, never misrepresented anything. He added, I am sorry to hear that he is stepping down. President Biden is the 7th president McConnell has seen through his term.
More of our coverage continues right here today at 5:30. The former head of the Kentucky Republican Party is going to be joining us live to talk about Mitch McConnell's legacy. Mac Brown is also a close friend of the senators. He'll tell us why he believes McConnell is timing the move for November. That's all new coming up at 5:30.
Now to new developments from Frankfort. 2 bills have been filed to make abortion exemptions for victims of rape or incest. One was filed by a Republican, one was filed by a Democrat. The latest bill was filed by Republican Ken Fleming. It would create limited exceptions to the state's abortion ban for rape and incest. The bill would only allow abortions if done before 6 weeks after the first day of the last menstrual cycle. It would also create a process for physicians to document the circumstances surrounding that abortion. Meanwhile, Hadley's bill was filed by Democratic Senator David Yates back in January. This bill aims to create a greater exemptions for victims of rape or incest, allowing abortions as long as the child is not viable. It would also allow abortions if there is a fetal anomaly and the child would not survive outside the womb. We spoke to Planned Parenthood, who says these exceptions are still too restrictive.
We want people to access abortion care when and if they need it. But what we've seen play out across the country, especially in banned states since Roe fell, is that if there is an exemption, the likelihood of accessing it has been slim to none.
We reached out to the Kentucky Right to Life, a pro-life organization. They told us they're opposing Representative Fleming's bill. They're saying it could potentially legalize the intentional termination of a human life.
A closer look on the abortion issue. Kentucky doctors, healthcare providers, and medical students met at the Capitol today in Frankfort to call for the repeal of the state's abortion ban. The medical professionals called the current laws dangerous and restrictive, saying complex health decisions should be between a healthcare provider and a patient without the interference of lawmakers.
The sanctity of the patient-doctor relationship has been violated by these laws. We know our patients can no longer trust that when they come to us, what they tell us won't be made readily available to the press or the public.
The group called Kentucky Physicians for Reproductive Freedom says they are gravely concerned for the well-being of Kentuckians, particularly women. More than 280 Kentucky doctors signed their name to the document, calling for the Kentucky State Legislature to repeal the current abortion ban.
An animal shelter in Grayson County, Kentucky reopened today after a man broke into the shelter overnight on Tuesday and released 16 dogs. Today, police confirmed one of those dogs died. Litchfield police say surveillance video shows Michael Baker breaking into the Litchfield Animal Shelter, releasing the dogs, and then walking out of the building looking for one in particular. He later catches it and then leaves the property. Well, after that, the surveillance video shows multiple dogs fighting, which police believe led to the injuries of 4 dogs and the death of a 5th. One dog was on the run, but has since been found by police. Baker's charged with burglary, criminal trespassing, and cruelty to animals. And an update now after a deadly attack in a predominantly elderly neighborhood in Fern Creek. Video camera doorbells are now being installed at homes where the residents need some extra help and want the extra security.
Now the helping hands are from local government who want to make sure the most vulnerable have an extra sense of security. One Metro Council member talked with WHAS11's Jose Alonso about the new effort.
Neighborhood leaders in Fern Creek are taking action to make sure residents in the area feel safe and comfortable, especially those who are retired. This comes just after a 79-year-old woman was found fatally stabbed to death in her own home just over 2 weeks ago. The tragic news has worked its way down to nearby neighborhoods as well.
I was very upset. The fact that someone would take a lady of that age.
Retired Louisville resident Billy Staten lives with her protective fur companion. Since her community caught word about the murder, it's put them on edge.
I hate that, and I was concerned for all of us. And some of the neighbors have talked, and we just really try to keep an eye out for anything that's unusual.
Video camera doorbells can be seen in several neighborhoods, including those surrounding Fern Creek. Metro Councilman Stuart Benson says he, his team, and LMPD are helping retired Louisvillians who are feeling uneasy after the murder.
With Betty Collins' stabbing death, it really made them nervous, and it rightfully so. And people need to know that we're watching out for them. We're going to try to help them.
Benson says his team has been walking the streets and assisting those who have purchased a device set them up.
Sometimes the older you are, computers and stuff are kind of foreign to them still, and so we really want to help them feel comfortable. And really, when you help one person, sometimes they can help another person, and it's a multiplying effect of helping each other and making sure that people feel secure in their neighborhood.
Billy says she's glad to hear help is being provided, even if it's not on her street. Several residents like herself are now thinking twice about buying a video doorbell.
They probably thought about it before and just maybe didn't want to go to the trouble to check it out, like myself. And I have been thinking about getting one, and I am going to get one.
A small tool residents hope will ease their worries. In Louisville, Jose Alonso, WHAS 11 on your side.
LMPD tells us today they are still investigating this case. No word on if they have any suspects.
More local news here today at 5 o'clock. Dozens of police officers and the Louisville Metro Police SWAT team headed to one of the city's most prominent downtown hotels this morning as the storms were moving through. One person was taken for treatment after an incident at the Brown Hotel on Broadway in downtown this morning. The LMPD SWAT team and the LMPD hostage negotiation team responded to a, quote, person in crisis at the hotel at about 3:30 in the morning. After a couple of hours, the man was taken into police custody and was taken to U of L Hospital for treatment.
And don't forget, Sherman-Minton Bridge will experience lane restrictions starting on Friday. It'll allow crews to pour some concrete on the top deck. I-64 westbound will be impacted from 6 on Friday until 1 on Saturday. Access to the New Albany exit ramp will also be blocked during this time. Lane restrictions are planned for the weekend of March 15th through the 16th and the 22nd through the 23rd. All will be during that same 6 p.m. to 1 p.m. time frame.